Have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision.
We draw reality everywhere.
True world order.
He was right. You did cause 9/11.
Yes, quite simple to pull off, really. All I had to do was have explosives planted in the base of the towers. Then on 9/11, we pretended like 4 planes were being hijacked when really we just rerouted them to Pennsylvania, then flew 2 military jets in the World Trade Center filled with more explosives and shot down all the witnesses in Flight 93 with an F-15 after blowing up the Pentagon with a cruise missile. It was only the world's most intricate and flawlessly executed plan ever.
I want to find out what's going on with him.
And I want to find out what's going on with you, Drew. And that's why we're here. Hello. I'm Nico. This is the Drew World Order and Red Shark Radio.
What's up,
you from Drew World Order, you might remember me. Wouldn't say a co-host, a contributor on the Drew World Order on the last couple of episodes. And we're just going to flip the script here. We're going to do what we call a joint podcast. And we're going to put this on our feed. So people from Red Shark Radio that haven't met Drew yet, say hello, Drew.
Hello. Greetings and salutations.
And the people from Drew World Order, introducing Red. Say hi, Red.
Hello, Drew people.
Hi, Red.
How are you?
And that is the professor.
Oh, hi, Nico.
I haven't met the professor yet.
I need a passport to get to South Carolina, so I'm working on it so I can come see you.
Oh, nice.
Do you hate Ted Koppel?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Yeah, the professor, he's obsessed with Ted Koppel. He's always bringing him up. But anyway, Red Shark Radio, it's been a while since we did a show. We had some studio problems. Red took a studio apart, repainted, put things back together.
Repainted again.
Fell through the desk.
Yeah.
Smashed it, bonded it, painted it again. And it's all back together, and we are ready to go. Now, if anybody goes on YouTube and watches this, what you're going to get to see is you're going to get to see Red start to melt.
Yeah.
Because he has to shut his air conditioning off for the sound. And he's in Carolina. It's about 120 degrees in his garage. So you're going to slowly start to see him sweat and melt. And by the end of the show, he should just be a puddle.
He needs the Huggies 4000.
So I don't know if you know, Joe, I know you only met Red briefly. You know, he's actually also a music producer. You see, he's got the keyboard, and he's a singer, he's a rapper. He also goes by the name Little Global. That's like his rap name.
No shit.
Matter of fact, let me play one of I'll play you one of his songs. This is a little Global right here.
Freaking asshole.
Trying to find my way, I'm still searching. Trying to be my own person. Blending in, ain't working. I'll find my way, I'm learning. At least I know I got purpose. At least I know I ain't perfect. Got ones locked up, man. This one's in the dirt, man. To this day, I'm still hurting. I can never let that pain go. All the times that I did the most for the people that I thought were close. We fell off, we don't talk no more. Saw the signs of my horoscope. Big dog shit, not a pup no more. To make ends meet, had to move that dope. About to swerve off the Mika Morgan lazy. Pockets on swole, looking big like precious, baby. Baby, wrap your legs around my neck just like a necklace. And I'ma put you through the test to see if you successful.
Yeah. What do you think?
Is that him rapping?
It's not me rapping.
I was going to say,
it's not him rapping.
Good.
He's
on a lot of the songs he does sing.
You produced the music, though.
He produced music on that, and he's got a buddy that comes over and raps. What'd you think?
That's pretty fucking good. Yeah.
On that's actually was all his rap. You know, right? That was him off the top of his head. What is it called when they do that?
Improv.
I'm lost. Improv.
Freestyle.
Sorry.
Freestyle,
yeah.
They call it.
Yeah.
In the rap world, they call it freestyle. He's like, do you watch South Park, Joe?
Yes. So I haven't in a long. I don't have cable right now. I used to though.
Do you know the Lord episode? Because he's kind of like when Randy is Lord and he's producing music on his computer.
Well, you said you knew a guy at work who was Lord's uncle.
Yeah, that's my cover.
Wait, Lord sounds like a girl.
Auto-tune. You want to see how I do it?
Yeah.
With all my best stuff in the bathroom at work. I use this program to import the recordings I make on my phone. Yeah, feeling good on a Wednesday. Sparkling thoughts. Give me the hope to go on. What I need now is a little bit of shelter.
Dad, Lord's music is actually really good.
Thanks, but it gets even better when I add the drum loops. Yeah, feeling good on a Wednesday. Then with the computer, I can actually quantize everything. Feeling backup instruments. And then finally, I use the auto-tune.
This is great, Drew. Watch this. It turns into like a Drake tune.
Yeah.
That's basically how he does
Jesus.
DJ Fly. Here's another one. Yeah. This is me rapping.
The fire roasted marshmallows, little bitch. The fire roasted marshmallows, new bitch.
Sitting by the fire roasting
Dude, I want to make a record with you.
Definitely, we should collab. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, like Nick said, I took the studio apart and it delayed getting it back together, but it's back.
I you know that I know a few of the former presidents that they are also interested in doing a rap album or something too. So we'll have to get them in touch with you.
Yeah, maybe we get George W. Bush to rap.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So anyway, I wanted to, for the people our listeners and people that just started listening to the Drew World Order, I wanted to kind of interview him, kind of get to know him, start from the beginning.
Yeah, I want to hear it all. I want to hear what it's about.
Yeah, we're gonna go right to the beginning, and I'm gonna interview you a little bit, Joe. So tell me, where did you grow up?
I am from central Kansas. In fact, this town I lived in was in the exact center geographically of the state of Kansas. It's called Great Bend, Kansas.
Now, you said you were just outside of Kansas City.
I'm
right?
in Spring Hill now.
Oh, okay. Now, let me ask you something. How the fuck did Kansas City end up in Missouri?
Well, there's also a Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, well...
Because I fucking Googled Kansas City the other day, and it comes up Kansas City's in Missouri, and I'm like, how the fuck did Kansas City end up in Missouri?
I've always wondered that too. And you have to cross the Missouri River to get to Kansas City.
So there's two Kansas Cities.
Yeah, Kansas City, Kansas, I don't think is as big, and it's a lot like trashier.
So it's in both.
Yeah, it goes across the river. Now, the sports complex like Truman and Arrowhead, they're all the way on the east side of Kansas City, almost to east of Independence. It's not even in Kansas City.
You have a tornado bunker?
No, we have a basement. I don't have a tornado bunker. We have it prepped.
You get tornadoes there?
Yeah, we had one. We've had two within 10 miles of our house the last 2 months.
No, seriously, because like you always hear about the friggin' big tornadoes there. I've never seen one. Once in a while you'll hear there was a tornado here, but it's nothing like that. Just means like a little twisted for a second. But you ever have like a major tornado near you?
Oh yeah, like it was like a month and a half. KMBC had their news chopper up, like tailing the tornado. They had it live. They were showing this thing as it barreled through. It barreled through Lawrence. Crap. It destroyed.
That must be scary as fuck, man.
Especially being in a helicopter.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it's like the sensationalism of news, you know?
Follow that.
Right? Like, well, we care about these people's lives, but get your ass up here because it's a sweeps week and that's good ratings.
Yeah, exactly. That's
you have a dog?
I do. His name's Cosmo. He's not here right now.
It's not Toto?
No. Should be. The next one might be.
All right, so you actually have like cornfields and shit right outside your house?
Yes, there's one right across the street here.
So you're in a rural area.
Yeah, it's like I'm south of Olathe. It would take me about 45 minutes to get to downtown Kansas City from where I live.
Is there rolling hills or is it mostly?
I could walk right down here to the cul-de-sac. That's where I fly my drone. It's in an empty plot, a cemetery plot. I haven't crashed it yet either.
Really?
Right. So, like growing up as a kid in Kansas, right? Like a high school kid, when high school students do crazy shit. Is there any kind of weird, crazy shit that kids do over there that's pretty much just like a Kansas thing?
We were in high school. You remember that show Jackass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a spinoff and we called it Dumbass, and it just consisted of us doing stupid shit. I ran through the Walmart parking lot one time in spandex and like a headband, and I put a tube sock in the back of my pants, and we recorded people's like how they reacted and shit to it.
That's not like a Kansas thing. This is like a stupid kid thing. Like, because like upstate New York, I've always heard of the kids up there. What they do is called cow tipping. You ever hear of that?
I've never.
I've always wanted to do it. I just always wanted to go out in the field and knock over a fucking cow.
I don't even know. Do they really sleep standing up? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they do.
Huh.
I actually had the opportunity to do it, But
you did that?
No, I did have the opportunity to. Yeah, in Cali. When I lived out there, my brother's family is Mexican. So he has a farm and full-fledged farm and right over the border, pretty much Tijuana. This guy owns.
And they got cows there.
Yeah.
You should have went and fucking tipped one. So Kansas is like what they would consider like a really red state, right?
Yes, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's budging. We did elect a Democratic governor. By the way, I'm a level 3 matador. Just throwing that out there, a bullfighter, but. Yes, Kansas is a red state.
Because it's like New York, they say it's such a blue state. But like this, it's weird because they say it's like a blue state, and you think that everybody here is a Democrat. But it's not that way at all. Like, I know a lot of people that support Trump. So like do you know people that are like Democrats, or is it like really like everybody?
Oh, yeah. I know Democrats. That's crazy because what you just said. CNN and Fox News, MSNBC, these people are not telling us that because according to them, you guys are all blue. There is no red.
They always give you the impression that like everybody there. But then when you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's a red state because 62% of the people vote Republican. Well, that means, there's still a lot of goddamn Democrats, but it's just because they, and then in your mind, you think that everybody fucking there is a Republican,
Mm-hmm.
That's really not that way at all. Now, is that like a very religious area?
Yes, I would say so. It's the Bible Belt.
How about yourself? You grew up religious?
I did. From a young age, I got in trouble because I questioned a lot of like, nobody else is going to call this bullshit out. This is ridiculous, 800-year-old people.
And you got in trouble for it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I remember the last time I ever went to church, I went to a lock-in. I was playing hide and go seek, and I came up the stairs, and these kids, like 12-year-old kids, had rigged a booby trap, like to explode, and it exploded in my face, gave me burns. And the next day, the preacher came to my house with a sack full of lollipops, and was like, "Everything's cool now." I was like, "I don't think you get to decide that." Ever since then, and obviously looking into what's happening in the world and how religion is used to divide and conquer. There's a difference between religion and spirituality, though, I think.
Yeah, there is a big difference. Are you political? Like, did you vote for Trump, or what is your political view?
Wait, go step back 1 second. When you said you're religious, what religion did you grow up?
I was baptized as a Baptist, I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And when you were kids, we used to make fun of our friends that weren't baptized. Be like, "Oh my God, you're going to hell." And
yeah, right.
I used to be terrified of it. I used to be terrified. My brother used to be terrified of it. Isn't that crazy? The fear that they put into you.
Yeah.
Like I was like baptized, but Italian Catholics here, it's just like you have to baptize
before you take the baby out of the house.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't do it that early, but then like I never really went to church after that. It's just like you do that one thing, and
my thing with it is like. You see a bunch of phony people in church on Sunday that are like, oh, I can just come here and sit for an hour. I don't have to pay attention. All my sins forgiven. Like, why do you have to have a middleman? Why can't you just communicate with, source? Why do you need a negotiator?
You don't have to go to this building to actually pray or whatever.
And not only that, like, hey, they ask, when the preacher gets up there, like, please, God, please have these people find the mercy to give us 10%, tax-free, obviously. The church needs a new hot plate. Like, come on, give me a fucking break.
That's what it's about.
So I know your podcast, The New World Order, it's a lot about government and conspiracies and the New World Order, and we've gotten into some of those things. Were you always a political person, or because you don't trust the government, did you kind of stay out of it?
I know I voted for W in 2004. 2008 and 12, I could not. Who did I vote for? One of those years I didn't vote. This time around, I voted for Jill Stein, and
me too.
She has since disappointed me a little bit. But Trump was saying some really interesting things, and there were some interesting things happening to him. There were several assassination attempts. Did you guys know that?
I would definitely have thought so. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard any, but
and I'll have to find the story for this. But one of them, the guy that attempted to assassinate him was a deceased FBI agent that had a gun with the serial number scratched off of it.
I didn't hear anything about that. You would think it would be big news.
Well, they're probably trying to keep it quiet.
I watch PBS NewsHour just to watch it every single day this week. I didn't hear one fucking thing about Epstein. I haven't heard that really.
Really? I mean, Epstein's all over the news here.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, which I was going to get into at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
When you talk about, the New World Order and all that stuff, I hear you referencing a lot of books. So you're not someone who just recently started going on the internet and researching and doing what I call going down the rabbit hole. Like, when did you first start getting into this stuff? How old were you?
Let's see, it was 2005 or 2006. And
okay. And that would put you around what age?
21, 22.
Okay.
And
what do you think influenced you into this?
It was an argument I had with a friend, and I was literally overnight, I was on one side defending the agenda and the ignorance that, literally overnight, I went to the library right after this argument and checked out David Rockefeller's memoirs and Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Grand Chessboard. And I think one of the very first quotes I read from Rockefeller in the book, well, he had a lot of quotes in there, but basically saying our plan for the world wouldn't have been able to come this far if we hadn't had the press and the media help us out. He even says, there's a quote, we'll have to find the quote, but he says, a lot of people have accused me and my family and my associates as being pro-globalist, pro-New World Order. If that's the charge, I stand guilty. He literally says, I stand guilty.
Right. So one thing I find interesting about you, there's a lot of people that are, let's say conspiracy theorists, and I hope you don't take that offense in that term, but I don't know what other term to use. Most of them, when you talk to, they have this attitude of, I know what I'm talking about, I'm right, you don't know anything, you're an idiot, I know. What I liked about you is, yes, you're very educated on all this stuff, but yet you're willing to listen to an argument. You don't sit there and say, I know, you're stupid, you're a fool.
It's not like he's pushing an agenda, on you.
Where did you develop that kind of thinking and the way you kind of go towards it?
So I have one rule, and I can't even remember how I formulated this rule. It's interesting who we are today, you guys, me, everybody individually. I always say that you are who you are, not in spite of everything that's happened to you, but despite. If you're walking around being who you are in spite of, that's just walking around with anger. Okay, my one rule is it's impossible to manipulate free will. So you can put all this information in front of people all you want. And sometimes it's frustrating for me when, I put this in there and people say, I'm not reading that. I'm not touching it. Get it out of my face. I don't want to know. I want to continue to live the lie. That's a little frustrating for me, especially with my rule. But I used to work with kids. I still work with kids. And when I first started to find this stuff out, I would go to work. I was going through, you take all the chakra development and where you are in your personal development and what's happening through the awakening. Because sometimes your awakening, it's not all that happy and go lucky. There's some interesting dark times in there. But I would go and see these kids' eyes and see like the unlimited potential and just like this lust for life. And then I would see adults and I'd be like, where the hell did those adults lose that from the time when they were becoming kids? And then I tied this whole, like, what these people who run the world are trying to do, those kids being the target, and I just kind of took it personal.
Right.
And it's just kind of, it's been nonstop ever since.
So you just, you joined the bandwagon right there, yeah.
Yeah.
You get into a lot of, a lot of conspiracy theories and a lot of things that happen through history and all, and we don't know for sure the accuracy of all these things, but I always feel like that in any story or conspiracy or even a story from way back religion, that there's definitely a grain of truth somewhere in there. And we just don't know how much of it is true and And, you really got to dig deep and research. It's like religion, you could just put it all off as crazy talk. Yet I believe, especially when you look at all different religions, how similar some of these stories are. Yeah, they got passed along and changed. And it's no different with these stories, with things that get passed along the internet. There is a truth to that story somewhere, and it's about digging in and doing the best you can to find that truth.
Oh, and Nico, like what you were saying, like the fact that I don't like to be pushy. When I had you on the show and we talked about structural engineering of those buildings, that's your area of expertise. Like, I would be highly ignorant and highly naive if I were to sit here and say, I'm sorry, you have 25 years in that field. I know what I know more. Like, that's ludicrous.
See, that's the part that I find interesting about you. Where anybody else who's into these types of things would be like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're blind. You know what I mean? And they don't even have a conversation. It's just an argument. I had a guy come here one time to work on my boiler, and he was a flat earther.
Oh, God.
And he started going on about, like, the flat earth, and I'm like, I just want the guy to fix my fucking boiler. It comes up, so I ask him a question because I love talking. You're not a flat earther, right?
No. No,
okay, good.
I'm not.
Because that's where you lose me. And before you know it, this guy's yelling at me that I'm an idiot and shit. I ended up calling the company and being like, dude, this guy's in here yelling at me that the earth is flat.
Jeez.
But anyway, the one thing I always like to look at whenever there's any type of a conspiracy or a story or an outrageous claim is, what is the motivation for it? Always, to me, the motivation gives credibility. Any motivation, unfortunately, it always basically boils down to money. And money or power. And even if you say it's power and war, you could take power and war. Basically, that goes back to money. So that's one thing a claim that seems outrageous. And we gotta ask the question, why? What is the benefit of that?
Yeah. What's the motivation behind it? Sure.
I would argue that as far as like what the end game is, everything, like all this stuff, this crazy ass shit that's happening in the world, financial, geopolitical, economic, like it is being geared systematically and with a certain scheme and a game plan and a strategy to march us toward a global society that is void of national sovereignty, void of national boundaries, void of national pride. Yeah. There's no more like nation states. There's super states, the North American Union. That's probably the best answer I could give to you as far as what the end game. Now, why are people...
Now, like when I speak to my brother who's very educated, but he's an attorney, and basically that's what his explanation is as well. It's the end game here. He's like, I know, I was a Democrat or I voted for Obama. It's not the thing. What's happening here is bigger than that. It's a global, this is starting in Europe and it's happening now. It's basically...
When you have ICE transporting, like they're picking up some of these illegal immigrants in Mexico with Ebola. I have an article I read last week, just dumping them on the streets of San Antonio. Like, I don't think that doesn't seem like the people in charge have our best interest at,
no,
no,
not at all. They're spreading, forget about it.
And
there's all kinds
people
of shit.
Always ask, like, why is it the opposite of how it's supposed to be? It's because the people that run the world are inversionists. Whatever they say to you, when George W. Bush says in that opening quote, "We have before us a chance to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world order which is governed by the conduct of law." He's referring to their system of style, law. And the next thing he says is not the law of the jungle. That's his referral to the Constitution. He thinks the Constitution is, jungle law. Now, we could go on and on about the Constitution, and people wrote that, how they were hypocrites owning slaves, saying that only white men who owned land were free. That's neither here nor there. But
and this may be hard to do in just a few words, but in just a few words, what is the New World Order?
The New World Order is it's the end game. It's the global end game, like cashless, microchip society that they need a race of people. This goes way back to Sumerian tablets and stuff like that. They need a group, a peasant race that is smart enough to do their bidding and to build this prison around us without realizing we're doing it, but not smart enough to see how badly we're being, fucked over by.
Yeah, so it seems like they've pretty much accomplished their goal.
Well, they're slowly chipping away at it.
They are, and they're getting desperate. I know a shaman and lives in Lawrence, and he tells me, and I might have to have him come on the show sometime, but he tells me, like, the problem with the Star Children is that we have not remembered that we have already won. They cannot accept that they have already been defeated. So you have this weird conundrum. I mean, I've listened to 10-hour David Icke presentations. I mean, it's so hard to get some of this stuff into an episode or 10 minutes when you've been looking at it for 15 years.
That's why I said I tried to say in just a few words, because I know if I ask you that question, and this is something we're going to discuss
in detail,
at length, in small little parts. And I knew that was going to be probably the most difficult question for him to answer in just a few words.
I will say this, symbols rule the worlds, not words or laws. Symbols rule, because your subconscious soaks up that way more than language or anything like that.
Well, it's okay that you went in a little in depth, because this way people get to know a little bit of your background.
Nico, I'll make sure he doesn't talk that. I'm going to kick his ass, all right? I'm sorry about that. He won't talk that much next time. Continue.
All right. So we've touched just a little bit on the last podcast, but I did it when I was talking to you a little bit, and you were talking about the bloodline. Now, what do you call it? Like the sacred bloodline, or what is the term for that?
Well, I call them the Babylonian Brotherhood. You could call them the Brotherhood. You could call them the 13 bloodlines. People call them the Illuminati.
So just to get a basic outline of this, you said there's 13 bloodlines?
Okay, so yes, and I don't have any of my notes out in front of me and my Sumerian stuff. But basically, according to Zecharia Sitchin's, when he transcribed the Sumerian tablets, these bloodlines, after the cataclysm some 12,500 years ago, and now, Graham Hancock and people like that are talking about this cataclysm that happened 12,800 years ago.
Yes.
Whatever was left.
And they just recently found evidence of it. He was right.
You're right. There's a crater. Basically, the children of, what's it say in the Bible? The God, or the sons of God and the daughters of men bred, and it created a hybrid race. That hybrid race would be the royal bloodlines that have just continued throughout Europe. Dude, the Windsor family, before World War I, had to change their name from Saxco? I can't remember. They had to change their name to hide their German ancestry as they were heading into World War I. They're just a bunch of fucking magicians.
So these bloodlines go all the way back to, as far as we know of civilization.
It's the significance of the 13.
Well, 13 colonies. I would ask the reverse question, what's the significance of the 13 colonies, the 13 stripes on the flag? Look at the back of a dollar bill. The eagle is holding 13 arrows and 13 branches on the olive leaf. There are 13 layers to the pyramid that has 33 blocks. There's actually Moloch, little tiny owls on the back of the dollar bill as well.
Really?
So,
and then the eye.
The eye. I would say that the 13 that we see in today's society, the McDonald's symbol, if you turn it sideways, is the letter 13, same as Arby's. 13 stands for, Queen Semiramis, which is an more ancient version of Mary Magdalene. Queen Semiramis with Nimrod and Tammuz, it's the exact same story 2,000 years before Christ.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a good broad outline of kind of what he talks about on his show.
Yeah.
Do you have any education? Did you go to college?
I did. I graduated from Wichita State University with a sport management degree. And
oh, really?
We didn't discuss really the New World Order a lot, but I did utilize that library to, as I said in one episode.
It sounds like you were a literature major or something.
And I wasn't really a social butterfly, so I was just obsessed with what is happening in the world and who's behind it. And that's the thing. According to Zecharia Sitchin and Sumerian law, or where they come from, they are bound by universal law to inform, their prey what is about to happen to them prior to them taking place in the event. They did that with 9/11. They do it with everything. You can see that
Now with 9/11, not to cut you off, right? You believe that happened? And I know we're going to get into this more later on down the road. But
well, we did a whole episode on that.
Yeah,
last week.
well, let me just touch base. Now, you believe 9/11 happened? What's your thoughts on 9/11?
Okay, that word believe. I use the word I resonate too. Yeah. Well, let me just say, the interesting thing about beliefs, like once you believe something, like you usually lock your psyche and your perception into that belief, thus like not allowing you to see really any other possibility. So the episode we had with Nico that day, it's tough for me to like believe because what the hell is this? You know, nobody really knows.
Right. How the hell do you really believe something? Yeah.
If you connect the dots and you take an objective, like critical thinking, problem-solving strategy to 9/11, to the Kennedy assassination, you come to find 100 times out of 100 times that the official story is full of shit. Just critical thinking and problem-solving skills, and you come to the conclusion like, okay, I do not come to this conclusion. This was the hypothesis when we went in. The conclusion matches the hypothesis. I mean, I've really tried, like, because I hate thinking that, oh my God, we've been infiltrated. That is fucking. I have a 2-year-old kid. I hate that. It scares the shit out of me. And the world's on fire.
You don't want the world to explode. Yeah,
you watch the news.
Yeah.
You go out and meet these people, and you're like, these people are beautiful. They're awesome people. Where the fuck are all these mean assholes coming from? You know?
True. So, what are your feelings are that existed because of, I mean, where do you stand with
I
that?
think that I don't like to say it was an inside job because
Okay. Somebody's been trying to get it down for a long time.
But like 93, if you look at 93, you come to find that the FBI literally put that bomb together. If you look at any of these situations, there's some weird shit around Sandy Hook. There's weird shit around the Boston bombing. There's just weird shit, like stuff anomalies. That's what I look for. I look for anomalies. But I would say that I would just say it's not an inside job. Obviously, Israel had something to do with it. UAE, Saudi Arabia, who fucking knows, man? Yeah. All you need to know about 9/11 is what happened to George W. Bush after they informed him. They didn't do a goddamn thing. They left him right where he was to read. You know why? Because they knew that he wasn't a target. But they got Dick Cheney the fuck out of there, you know? Like, people saying that George W. Bush did this. Like, George W. Bush did fucking know how to open a door, you know?
Cheney was running that whole operation.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I know. He sat there, he didn't even flinch. He just kept reading the book to the kids and was like, okay.
They were holding signs up at the back of the room, don't panic, like literally cueing him to stay calm. Like the guy but people think that you want to watch something creepy, watch his address to Congress following 9/11. That dude,
really?
His eyes, he's not. Yeah. Anyways, continue, Nico.
So now you think, though, that the planes... Hold on, Nick, 1 second. You think that the planes came in and actually that was the culprit of taking the building down, or there was other devices, or...
No holograms. There were not... The planes were not holograms. That's ridiculous.
Because I never really discussed it with anybody. And from my point of view, from what I actually saw, I was standing on... happened to be right on the other side of the river, which is a clear shot of the two buildings sticking up, and I was on the roof of a building, probably about the 10th floor, of a parking garage, which was the top floor. And I watched I got a call from the wife. She, it was just about coffee time, obviously. And she said, hey, small plane came in. So I said, okay. So my buddy who was working the job, he said, hey, I smoke cigarettes up here. Let's go up here. We'll take a look. So we went up there. So I watched the second plane blow through the Jersey side.
Jesus.
And I came. Yeah. So that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of guys say, no, that was exploded. It wasn't even planes. I've heard shit like that. And I'm like, I gotta, just to burst your bubble. I seen, I watched it.
We know there was airplanes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of crazy people online that say it was a hologram or something.
Well, that's what
very few people really believe that.
On it. Yeah.
And I call something, what I'm about to talk about, I call the cul-de-sac effect. Like when they get you, see, they'll allow you to get to a certain point, and look how we just spent 5-10 minutes discussing whether or not there were bombs or plane. Like taking, you know what I mean? Like it's almost irrelevant. Like what happened that day? Look what's happened since then. The Patriot Act released 30 days later. They had a 1,000-page document typed up. Like, who the fuck wrote that in 30 days? They had it ready to go.
Right. That's interesting.
Well, they
But
could
I mean,
write
you know,
that
when
in
in
30
times
days.
of war, they can get things done. all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
and,
you know?
and we got some, there is smart people that can actually implement ideas that have probably been around, because look, let's face
Look,
it.
that fucking Patriot Act has to be overturned, and now they're using it for all kinds of
That
stuff.
was-
you
yep,
know, they
that's the goal.
Now the president's got way too much power,
They're there. It's like a parliament.
and I haven't seen one candidate talk about repealing that if they get elected.
If you do, I would vote for that person. I don't care what party they're in. Yeah, absolutely.
It's unconstitutional. And in a time of emergency, okay, if you want to authorize that for a period of weeks or months or a year, just because we're under attack, fine. Other than that, it should have never been an open-ended thing.
And my question's always been like, how the fuck do you win a war on terrorism? That's like winning a war on jealousy. I mean, Jesus Christ, you're not going to win that fucking war, Exactly,
an
and that's
ongoing
the point.
security.
It's like hope. Like hope always insinuates that you should look to the future for hope. Why can't you just look the eternal now is the only thing that exists,
All right, so let's turn it into some more current news.
Okay.
All right, we'll move forward. I'll just start with a quick question. What is, and again, without giving a long-winded explanation, because I don't want to go too deep into it right now, we're going to fall. What is Pizzagate?
Okay, I'm gonna have to say that I don't know. There are some people out there that really dove into that. That
Okay, you're not deep into that one.
Okay, I've read Kathy O'Brien's Transformation of America, and after reading that, and where she talks about, she's a deprogrammed MK Ultra slave, where she talks about some of the stuff that they do to children. That's really tough for me too. It's disgusting, man.
The reason why I wanted to bring up Pizzagate, first of all, it's got the funny name, and I always heard about it, and I was always like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
fucking Pizzagate, But like I said before, there is always a grain of truth to every crazy story. But with this Epstein thing in the news now, who was doing pedophilia with all kinds of rich and powerful people, it kind of ties into that. And I don't know if his name was ever mentioned in Pizzagate, if he had anything to do with it.
Nick, that's a pretty good assumption there.
Well,
I
mean,
didn't think about
kinda
that.
Interesting.
Yeah, now,
Well, yeah.
Now that you're saying, because he was friends with Bill Clinton.
Of course. Bill
Yeah.
Clinton was on his plane, and all kinds of other rich,
Yeah,
powerful
but-
politicians and stuff. Which brings me to the next
Stephen
question.
Hawking.
I mean, if you don't know a whole lot about Pizzagate, and I don't want to get too deep into that, it was more about Epstein. So Epstein gets charged now. Oddly, 15, 17 years after the original charges. And it's the Public Corruption Division that's going after him.
Public Corruption Division. Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have not heard that at all anywhere. At all.
I've heard a lot about that on the news.
No shit.
Now, that wouldn't normally be the Public Corruption Division going after child trafficking.
Right.
But it is.
Why?
Wow.
Now, what they're trying to figure out is why. There's two things. Either they think he has information about other people in public service,
Maybe the president.
or some people say, maybe it's just because they're investigating how he got released and how they got that sweet deal the last time, and that's the corruption. But it seems more like there has to be public officials involved.
That sweet deal he got last time, that was a deal of money and power that happens every day in this
course.
world,
Yeah.
all day long. And
Money and power get you out of some things.
Yeah, and that-
when it comes to child porn and child trafficking, that's not usually one they would strike a deal on.
Well, you know what? That judge is probably a freak, and he's probably into it too. And he probably figured, you know what? I'm going to give
Oh,
this.
come on.
Did you see
What
that?
judges into
well,
porn?
Oh,
did you see that he was
I'm
denied
not
bail?
kidding you. There was judges that were like jerking. There was judges that are busted like jerking off and shit during court cases, right? You ever hear this, Drew?
Oh,
Well, everybody does that.
No, I
and
heard it.
I wonder how many of those are Freemasons. I wonder if the judge that denied his bail is a Freemason. And I'm not implicating Freemasons at all, but did you see that he was denied bail? Or
Yeah,
bond or whatever?
I mean, saying the judge let him go just because he was, and honestly,
I'm
it wasn't
just
even the
saying.
judge anyway.
He could be.
I mean, that's pretty far out. The guy went, the guy who prosecuted him said they didn't have evidence, and
Yeah.
we struck this deal. It was a sweetheart deal, but it seems to me Okay, so this Epstein guy
Yeah.
knew all kinds of politicians, rich and powerful people. We knew he had Clinton on his plane. We knew he had this guy.
Stephen Hawking.
He's got that little compound down in I think it's Mexico. wherever
St.
it is.
James Island.
He's got a
Not in Mexico. Mexico City,
It's in the
wherever it
Virgin
is.
Islands,
That he
isn't it?
bought. Well, he's got one here in the United States.
right. He's got an
that
island
he-
off of the Caribbean or
Yeah.
something. That's right.
No,
yeah.
no, we're talking about one in the United States that he bought all the land
Yes.
from the mayor.
Yes.
So what I'm getting at is, maybe some of these people are involved. Now, he used to
Yeah.
have all of these rich people to his house.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get him to flip on people in politics. So it has to be because of that division. It doesn't really make any other sense for them to be using the public corruption division going after him. So they're saying, okay, so they're probably going to squeeze him and he's going to make some kind of a deal. But if you got that many charges on you for sex, what's the sense of making a deal? You can't get the type of deal where, okay, I'm going to rat out the mayor and they're going to let me go. I don't know what they could.
Well, you're not going to get the deal that you got the first time, which was basically like
No, this guy's going down. So I can't imagine him
he's got to do time.
ratting people out.
Well, I think
because he ain't getting off this time no matter what. But they did raid him, and they got pictures,
Yeah,
they got
they got
files,
porn.
they got
Yeah,
all
they
kinds
got
of stuff.
child porn now.
So this whole thing is going way deeper than Epstein.
Ever thought it?
This is not going to be over for a long time, and some other people are going down. And I was just wondering if you had a thought on it. But
okay, they want the information, the proof, the paper trail of what he has on them. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we find Epstein suicided twice in the back of the head with his wrist bound, thrown into a lake. Well, he killed himself. Tragic incident, I would not be surprised
he might
at all.
kill himself in
Yeah,
jail.
exactly.
They're trying to. Well, did he win this? I don't even know. He was trying to get the stay in your mansion jail time till the case.
no, that's what he got 15 years ago. Now he's in jail. That's it. And there's no bail this time.
I
They're
know,
not
but
getting bail.
no, they were fighting for that. They were saying he would.
Yeah, they didn't get
He
it.
would
That
put
was
up
yesterday.
this. He would. Okay, he didn't win it. Okay,
No bail. No.
okay.
He's
Because
staying
if he
in jail.
did get
No,
it,
they said
if he did
he's a
get
flight
it,
risk.
he probably would have killed himself.
When they went to his house and they went into a safe,
And they
he
found-
had a
They
he had a fake passport
right.
with his picture and a different name on it.
Are you kidding
He had
me?
he had a little bag of I don't know how many.
Yeah.
I'll pick up a number, like 15 diamonds or so. So
Really?
that's a good way to travel with a lot of money and just stick it in your goddamn
Yeah,
pockets.
yeah.
Get a
And you
little
can
pouch
always
full
sell
of-
a
full of-
diamond. Yeah.
Yeah, full of diamonds, fake passport. He owns planes. They're like, this guy's a flight risk. He's not getting out.
As
Yeah,
he's
they've had these charges ready for a while. They were very careful not to let it out because they had to get this guy when he landed. If word got out, he would have just not come back.
And
He'll never get. He's got
They
too much money.
scurried him right up in Teterboro. Go ahead, Joe.
And there's an interesting angle behind him landing and coming back. I mean, I'll send you guys that article and we'll discuss it next week. But did you know that he has spent $29 million filling in the tunnels beneath his property on that island? Dude, that temple on his island, have you noticed the picture of it? The bar is barricaded from the outside like they're trying to keep something in.
But you're telling me that he has tunnels underneath the house.
There are tunnels, and there's one photo that shows a statue of Moloch, which is what they have at Bohemian Grove. It's the ancient Babylonian deity. It's actually the same owl that's on the back of the dollar bill. It stands above a catacomb beneath that temple studio type thing. There are tunnels and there are hidden catacombs on that island, and dude, it's very, very. I've seen a picture from Q. I don't know if it's real or not, but it shows children sitting on buckets, not upside down buckets either, sitting on buckets eating. And the reason they'd be sitting on buckets, according to Kathy O'Brien in Transformation of America, is because they've been sodomized to the point where they can't control their bodily functions. That's what these people that can run our world are doing on a Saturday night, in my opinion. And there's a lot of evidence to support that, as we see in the news right now.
Are you watching Red Melt right now?
Yeah, right. Are you watching this, dude? Dude. No,
He's
seriously.
He's rubbing his face. He's starting to melt.
Get this man an iced tea right now.
He's got a rag. He's wiping himself down.
But I just went through a whole roll of paper towel. But
the whole time I was just watching you rub your face laughing.
Well, one more, they also, you have all this news coming out saying that Epstein was part of had a state sponsor and was running a blackmail operation. You have what Acosta in the resignation of Acosta. It's just weird shit. Dude, I have an article I'll show you. The stuff that's inside of his New York mansion. Creepy ass fucking shit. Like little girls hanging from nooses with their eyes plucked out, statue. Like creative
That's
art.
creepy.
That is creative.
Yeah,
just
shit. Yeah.
mind-blowing art. Like, no, that's fucking...
Oh, this is actual artwork that was actually legal?
I'll send you
Okay.
the article of what they found inside of his New York mansion, the art.
They did go ahead and find porn as well, right?
Yep.
Like child porn. So that's it. That's that's a new charge as we stand.
All right, I tell you what. Listen to the song. We'll take a quick break, regroup, and we'll be back in a
Okay,
minute.
do I need to bring anything back? Yes. I'm the professor. Well, I'm talking to Ted Koppel, and then I don't know. Then Ted Koppel goes bye-bye.
I want to find out what's going on.
Fly night in the fuck you building. Think about a couple $100 million. Wanna get it stacked up, racked up, so I gotta go ahead and hit the studio, dog. I'm a nigga up my love.
So that was another one of Red's tracks that he did with his rapper buddy. What's his name again, Red? I always forget his name.
His first name is Nye.
Nye the rapper.
N-A-I, yeah. Hey, Nye. And his name, he goes by Fly Nye.
Fly Nye. Hey, how about you, Professor? What'd you think of the rap?
I love it. Can I use it for my polka?
Yeah, sure.
I tell you, the people down at the polka hall were going to write you a thank you letter, and they'll probably, knight you or give you the town key or some shit like that. I don't fucking know what they do.
That would be wonderful. Wonderful,
They might invite you out to
I tell you,
Golden
Professor,
Corral.
you have a nice voice. I would think you might want to try and do a song with Red.
I did a rap album with Herbert Walker Bush when we were not enemies. It was after I served as his press secretary. It was pretty good. We talked about small children and babies.
Right.
I didn't like what he was talking about, so I rapped my own style. But I think it went platinum. I'm not sure though.
Professor,
shit.
we need to collab.
I would love to. I tell you, you are a great American, sir. And I see that your studio, and I see that the heat pump you have to endure. And I must say that Ted Koppel will pay for this, all right? Mark my words.
The Professor seems to have an obsession with Ted Koppel. Where did that come from?
Yeah, what is that?
I was on the Jedi Council 730 some years ago, and Master Yoda and I were having coffee together. And Ted Koppel was with Tom Brokaw and Peter Jennings, and who the fuck else, I don't know. He walked in and he hit me in the face with a pie, a key lime pie. And it really started from there. I started to watch Nightline, and he'd be like, I'm Ted Koppel, I'm on Nightline. He's a fuckstick. And then he made fun of the Huggies 4000, which is the only diaper streamline to keep the British out.
Right.
It's a long story, and I would love to tell it to you gentlemen someday.
Now, hey Drew, where did you meet the Professor? Was he actually a professor in school?
I don't even remember. I think that he hit me with his rickshaw. He hit my car with his rickshaw.
That's not true. Not true at all.
I can't even remember. I know that I was left unconscious the very first time I met him, though. I do remember that.
What was that? Who is that?
Are you not the Professor, but Drew? Are you Scandinavian? And
I have a little bit of German. I have a little bit of
reptilian.
I'm not. I hope
My
I'm not
wife's
a reptilian. She is? Is she really?
Yeah.
Does she have the
She's
slit
got all
eyes?
the right the blood type. Yeah.
Oh boy, here we go with the lizard talk. Jesus. I still have yet to see any proof. I mean, I've seen a couple of people that have slit eyes, but that doesn't mean they're fucking snakes.
Right, exactly. So we'll have to get all the documentation and prove it. But
I don't have my vaccines readily available, though. I'm sorry.
We will take blood.
Mine?
Sure.
I don't want my
yours.
blood. Okay, I don't.
We'll take the wife's blood.
I don't. Well,
We should
Diana
all
Ross,
draw blood.
I don't know how to get a hold of Diana Ross. That's who I'm married to. But we haven't spoken in a long time.
Speaking of which, did you know Jared Kushner used to own? What do they say? Rh negative is the blood type that is the what's the most rare blood type on Earth?
Rh negative. My wife is Rh negative.
Really? Because I want to say like Fritz Springmeier and some of these other guys.
I'm the most common. I'm 00 or something.
Huh. They say that the most rare is basically the closest stock to the royal bloodline that has originated through Sumer, Mesopotamia, Europe. It's the British Empire never ended.
You know, on our show, we do some prank phone calls and silly stuff sometimes. I told him I wanted to have him call the doctor's office to get a blood test and ask them if they would be able to tell him if he was reptilian.
Oh, yes.
The only problem is the healthcare out here. You can't get a doctor on the phone. You know, not even a nurse, Nick. It's an answering machine.
If you got to call New York, call New York.
Well,
It's just a phone
true,
call.
yeah.
Well, I know
true.
a doctor. He's a veterinary doctor, but Dr. Mercer, he might have to help you out with that. He's a pretty good guy. We'll have to do that. I'll have to he's at the veterinary clinic. I think the professor, he bought this cat. He thought it was a honey badger. It's a long story.
Right.
Listen, I'll tell the fucking story, okay? It was a honey badger. We tried to shave it, and then I can't, that's all I want to talk about it, all right? It's a fucking honey badger.
I'll tell you what. I love it. I love it.
I love America.
I love, this is the professor, right?
Yes, I am Professor Guantavius D. I'm a history of accounting professor at Yale University and Cal Berkeley.
And a podcaster.
Yes, I'm a podcaster. I'm probably a better professor than I am a podcaster.
I think you're a great podcaster. I love having you on, Professor.
Thank you. I really like being here. I don't like sitting next to Drew, but, it is what it is.
He smells funny, right? Which reminds me, I was laying in bed last night, and I had the laptop. Maybe I was doing editing, I was working on those bumpers and things and getting the cart machine ready for the show. And then I was laying there, right? And then I put the computer down and I just started fingering my belly button, and I thought I felt like a little piece of sand in there. Right? You ever finger your belly button and you smell your finger and it stinks like ass? It's like a little asshole, my belly button.
Yeah, well.
Bro, it gets gross
Dude,
in there.
I cannot. That's one thing I cannot. If somebody sticks their finger in my belt, my wife constantly tells me.
No, I wouldn't let someone do it to me, but I was doing it to myself. See, it's stinky.
Messing around with my belly button or something, and I'll be like, Kel, get away from me, because it freaks me out, bro.
Isn't that when one of those things that moms would always tell the little kids when they were taking a bath, or a shower? Don't forget to clean your belly button. I don't think my mama taught me good, because my little belly button stinks like an asshole when I finger it. It's stinky, man.
Reminds me of.
Well, no, Kelly she'd be like, "There's a nugget in there," because it'd be lint.
There's gold in there.
I wouldn't let someone else touch mine.
Red, I can't get my Keurig or my hot plate to work, and Drew says that I need a generator, but I think he's full of shit. Do you have any?
He is full of shit.
I fucking knew it.
Hey, okay, so we're talking about David Rockefeller. I want to read this quote from David Rockefeller. This is from his memoirs.
Yes.
And I'm going to try to, I don't know what David Rockefeller sounds like, or I'd try to read it as him. Here we go. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it. David Rockefeller, 2002 autobiography memoirs, page 405.
Ooh.
Pretty creepy, huh?
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it up, end it on that serious note. Next week we're gonna get into some Iran. What else is on the agenda for the next show?
We'll probably dive more into the Epstein. We'll talk about what is the new world order. I really liked that question earlier, Nico. We're going to talk about.
I touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. The Sumerian tablets and what is this? How old is this conspiracy?
Well, that was one of my questions, but I didn't want to go deep today because I was just kind of touching on everything. And each week, what I'd like to do is also touch on something current a little bit also, and see how things that are current kind of reflect to things that happened in the past. And one thing I was thinking about was what's going on in Iran, and with this missile strike, and supposedly we shot down their drone yesterday, and how they're trying to pull Trump into war, and it sounds like
a lot like Iraq.
It sounds like the Bay of Tonkin.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, dude, the Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah,
they're trying to pull him into a war there. And he's got all these hawks, and they're trying to pull this shit on him. I don't know
what happened.
What he knows. They're telling him that they fucking... I don't know what's going on, but they're trying to sneak this motherfucker into a war. And I'd like to touch on just how these things relate, and we'll save that for next week.
I got one thing. Gulf of Tonkin. Do you want to know who the admiral of the ship that... what was it? The USS... the admiral of that ship USS Pruitt was Jim Morrison's father, the Doors singer's father. Yes.
Really?
Jim Morrison's dad.
Wow.
Well, a lot of people say he's an MK Ultra handler. Jim Morrison was an MK Ultra slave. Gulf of Tonkin, Admiral Morrison had a huge hand in starting the Vietnam War. Jim Morrison's father was the admiral of that ship.
We're gonna save that for next week.
Okay, yeah,
next week.
Over and out.
Okay, hold on. Bye. Oh no, Ted Capel, fuck you.